Hello and welcome back to Crusader Kings 2. This is a special bonus episode of the Let's Play because all we're going to be doing this time is addressing current concerns and concerns going forward. I'm not feeling very well and I haven't for several days, so I'm not really able to play this game for very long, and that, will affect how many uploads I'm able to make for a little while. Once I feel better, I will of course start uploading again, but until that time this is going to be probably the last upload. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our current situation now that we're an independent emirate, and what we need to watch out for and what we need to focus on. And so you'll see me doing these things as I continue the game. So the first thing I wanted to mention was I had a little bit of a recording mishap. I lost about a year of game time. So actually the last few minutes of the last video are no longer canon. Anything before January 1st, 1128, I believe it was lost due to a crash. So I had to restart it from an autosave from the 1st of January 1129, and really the only thing that's different is that I'm no longer at war with Castile over Calatrava, and to be honest, that's a good thing, and I will explain why in a moment. Now I wanted to go over first our foreign policy. Now we haven't had to deal with this up until now, but events have sort of shaped it in a specific way to where I have to really address it. So the biggest threat to me right now is Castile. Castile is much larger than it usually is in this game. A lot of times it gets kind of rolled over by Muslims, but the thing is, in this game, if you look at the king, they're of the same family as the French. So they are very close allies. And that is why you see the French occupying these territories, and the French have been constantly involved in these wars. They also are strongly allied with the English, who are also French in origin. They are the Normans. So, this is a very unusual situation, but because of it, they are basically unbeatable. There's no way I can go to war with them and win. So I need to. What my foreign policy plan is to just ignore them as best I can and keep this rating, this disposition rating with the kings of Castile fairly high until one of several things happens. Until their alliances are withered away, or or there's a huge rebellion of some sort, or I am huge enough, if I take over most of the rest of the continent, or I should say peninsula. My original plan was to move into Africa and start taking that over, but I don't think that's going to be very feasible because the main reason is actually because of the Holy Roman Empire here. They've taken a huge amount of it, and it's not going to be easy for me to, get it. I don't actually have any plan to how I would be able to get it. They're huge and they're scary. They've been surprisingly stable. Usually the Holy Roman Empire fragments pretty quickly into lots of rebellions, and they're not able to make many gains in foreign policy. But if you look, they've really taken over a huge amount of territory. They've got all this. They've got, they've kept Italy. They've even expanded down further into Italy. They got Corsica, Sardinia, Carthage, all these areas in what is now Algeria and Libya. They're frightening. And the Byzantine Empire has not shattered at all. This is a weird game. Usually Muslims do a lot better than what we're seeing. So what I'm basically telling you is that my current plan is to really focus on expansion, and I'm going to try to form this kingdom as I already said I would, but I'm going to do it even faster than I originally thought I would. And what that means is I'm going to go to war very quickly with the Malaga, the Amarids, and the Aftasids. Even though the Aftasids have been staunch allies of mine and were instrumental in ensuring my my independence, there's nothing I need to take them over. And I'm going to be focusing primarily on the territories in green. I need to get 2 days, so I'll show you exactly what the criteria are. In order to get it, you need to hold at least 2 duchy titles, and you have to have 10 of the 20 counties that make up this de jure kingdom. Now right now I have 6. So if I take over these 3, this is the Emirate of Granada, and then I can take over this area or one of these areas if I'm lucky, and that will be enough to form the kingdom. And once I form the kingdom, I'm going to really attempt to expand up here through Leon, finish off the Aftasids, get the Abadids. I want to make essentially all this area mine, and that will be a pretty strong block that will be difficult for these guys to really roll over if they decide to do that. And once that happens, I'll probably, you know, depending on the situation, this is so far in the future that I'm not certain what I'd do, but I would try to either expand into Castile or expand further down here, depending on, you know, what's going on in the world. So that's sort of my foreign policy. You're going to see me doing a lot of invasions. There is a command that I have neglected to use. It exists. I should have probably mentioned it, but I try not to use it if possible. I can actually declare war on just about anybody. As a Muslim, you're able to do that because you can just conquer people. It costs a little bit of piety, and so we're going to be losing a lot of our piety that we've built up in order to conquer these areas. And we just can't afford to wait on our Grand Vizier to fabricate claims. I'm going to continue to have him doing that, though, so that I can then revoke the titles from these sheiks without any tyranny hits. But it's going to be, you know, later rather than sooner in that sense. Now, that's going to be my foreign policy. Now, my internal policy is much more complicated. And the reason it's so complicated is due to something that has nothing to do with me, and it actually kind of ties into what I'd just been talking about, the fact that the Christians are so strong in this game. The problem with having a situation where the 2 religions are not balanced is that you start to get one of the religions loses this moral authority rating. And once this happens, you'll start to see a lot of heresies. So if you look in the religious map mode, you start to see all these little heresies, the Yazidi, the Ibadi, this is Zoroastrianism, Ibadi, Yazidi, all kinds of stuff pop up throughout the Sunni bloc. And because I'm Sunni, this is affecting me as well. We have this Yazidi heresy here, and there's an Ibadi heresy here, and they're very large. This is three or 4 territories. It's actually 5 right here. And then this is, inside my territory in Seville and Malaga. So the only thing I'm going to do this episode is I'm going to send this guy to try to convert the people of Seville. And so what the heresy is it basically will affect your vassals. So, for example, I'm not sure how many heretics we'll find right now, but eventually we'll start to see a large number of these things, Yazidi people. And this is a bad thing because they will convert other people to the faith, and they hate me. They have a negative 28 heretic rating towards you. And so the more direct vassals you have that are heretics towards you and your religion, it's the worse off you are. And the problem is, the reason this is, like, I could convert them and it would go away, but the reason this is such a problem is this moral authority that we have right now is likely to just fall away, and that's because the Holy Roman Empire is going to continue probably to take areas from the Almoravids here. The Castilians are going to continue to take areas from the Abbadids here, the Amarids. We're going to continue to lose territory to these bigger and more powerful alliances from Christians. They've done an extremely good job in this game, and any jihad we were to have is not going to succeed because you know, at the early game, the Seljuks are the main Sunnis, and they would have probably taken over the Byzantine Empire had, you know, usually that will happen. Like, they will actually successfully jihad against it. But that failed, and now if you look at them, they're pretty shattered. They have been for a long time. They're very unstable and not very strong. The Fatimids are the biggest and most powerful Muslim state, but they're Shia. So they have nothing to do with our Sunni our Sunni bloc. So it's a, you know, big problem. It's one that I don't really know how to solve other than really be diligent and pay and hope to get a bit lucky with conversions. I mean, look at this. I have such a little amount of chance. I only have like a 2% chance of converting the populace. It's not as serious as when it was a Catholic province because I'm still able to raise troops from it. But, you know, if I don't want to become Yazidi or Ibadi because it's hard to kind of explain without showing you, but what'll happen is if my character were to become a heretic, I would then have the Yazidi faith, say, and I wouldn't have a caliph, and that would mean that, you know, I wouldn't even be invited on a lot of these jihads that are going on, you know, and those are useful in a lot of situations because, you know, you're able to get traits from them, you're able to help, you know, defeat, you know, you're able to help curb larger, you know, bigger powers. Like, if they were to declare a jihad in the Holy Roman Empire, I'd probably join it. Maybe not right away, but like if I were to, you know, create the kingdom and then they have a jihad against the Holy Roman Empire here because, you know, they have these kingdoms, I would try to join it. But because I have a chance of converting into this weird religion, I would not get that option, and we wouldn't have, you know, the ability to send Sadaka. We'd lose a lot of little beneficial things, like, you know. So that is a big problem, and I'm hoping that we'll get a little lucky and we can curb it. But I'm not hopeful, and I think that I'll probably have to deal with a lot of heretics from now on. And really the biggest issue with that is it ties back into vassal opinion. You know, I care a lot about what my vassals think about me because that obviously affects how many troops I can get from them. And if they dislike me because they're a heretic, that's a big problem. And, you know, it wouldn't help if I converted to the Yazidi faith because there will still be a lot of Sunnis. So, you know, it's a lose-lose proposition to have this split religious space. And, you know, it'll make dealing with my vassals a lot more complicated and difficult. And that will not end with, you know, Kareem's death here. That will only end with, you know, the extermination of one of the religions. Now, the other issue that we have in the future is one that, again, has really nothing to do with me. It's not my fault, but I have to deal with it. Kareem is 41 years old. He's not super old. He could live a long time, and he has lots and lots of sons. He has way too many sons. He has 6 sons that are still alive. That means that this decadence score, which has been extremely low for years, is going to shoot up. And there's really nothing I can do about it unless I want more and more relatives, which I don't. I need to curb this sort of explosion in children. Abu Bakr is 14, and he's coming of age soon. And once he does, we are going to marry him off and send him somewhere. We're probably going to give him the Wilia of Arcos, which is sort of the classic one that I gave Kareem a long time ago. So we're going to send him off, and so that decadence score will be kept in check. But our other sons, we're not going to land them. I've learned recently that it is possible to keep them from being decadent if you put them on your council. And so hopefully we'll have a son or two that are going to be very, very strong in, diplomacy or, stewardship or even intrigue or something like that, to where we can actually, use them in a meaningful way, and they won't rack up our decadence score. But I'm not hopeful, and there's even if I do have a couple of those sons, there's no way I'll have 5 sons for 5 council positions that are better than all of these people. So, and also, the court imam, I can't do anything about him. So, I'm not hopeful in that sense. I do think that, in what this ends up meaning is, I'd rather Kareem died at something like 50 than live to be 60 or 65, because that will make the accession of Abu Bakr here a lot easier, because then he won't have to worry about all of his brothers. He'll have to only worry about like maybe 1 or 2. So it's a weird situation where I want Kareem to survive a while, because he gets a long reign bonus, and if I can actually form the kingdom, I can then institute medium crown laws, which, like I said, will prevent my vassals from attacking me or attacking each other within my realm, which is a major goal, and it's something that I'm gonna keep constantly in effect once I make the kingdom. But I will never get. I have no control over when he dies or whenever or whatever, and it's something that really is a problem. I mean, it's hard to like. It seems weird that I'd be rooting for the death of my own guy, but having good and having successions go smoothly is very, very key in this game, because you need to, especially in this situation where I'm faced with a serious foreign threat. I need my internal affairs to be really I need them to go smoothly, and so I'm going to be adding a huge number of new vassals just because I'm going to be conquering them soon. So they're going to have their own issues with me and so forth. So once my guy dies, I need to be able to quickly put them down, and I don't need the complication of having lots of brothers as well. So Kareem living along Kareem the First, or really he's the second, but him living a long time will not benefit me in any way beyond creating that, changing the crown authority, which I hope to do. Like, that is sort of what I hope to be his last act, is is increasing crown authority to medium. And the reason I want him to do that rather than Abu Bakr is because if you do that, all your vassals take a negative 30 disposition hit against you for increasing the crown authority. So I'd rather Kareem absorb that and then die than to have Abu Bakr have that and then have to live with it for his entire reign. I think it only applies to vassals that you had when you actually did increase the crown authority, but I'm not positive about that. But either way, it does affect your vassals' opinion of you, and I need to have them high in this situation because I need as many troops as possible. Now, if you look at my realm tree, you'll see that this guy has 21% of the troops raisable. That's a lot. That's not something that I like to have. I only like to have, 15% is pretty much the highest I'd like. and I actually have been weakened by creating this. I'm severely weakened. What this was as an emirate, the Abbadids, they used to be a lot stronger, at least in their top liege. They used to have like 13,000 men. We're only able to get 10,000 maximum, and we're only, you know, we're actually our current levy is 7,500. So we need to have some downtime at some point, but we're gonna try to conquer these territories here. This is my first goal, is really to conquer these. And what I'll probably do is I'll take over Malaga, then I'll take over Granada, and then I'll have a truce with these guys. So once I do that, I'll take over Badajoz here, and then I'll take over, you know, something else. Like I might have some downtime here until this truce wears off, and then I'll take over Almera, and that should be enough to make the kingdom. Once I do that, I'll expand as necessary. Like I might try to get this entire duchy here. I'll take over these for sure. I might go up here depending on what Castile's done. I'll take advantage of some Leonese weakness. You know, they're not going to be strong enough to fight me, at least in Leon. So I'm not going to, as long as I don't declare holy war on them, which I wouldn't do, I should be okay. So that's basically my plan. I hope to show you some of that next time. And naturally this could all change depending on, you know, let's say Castile has a big rebellion and they lose half of these troops to a big duke. Well, then I wouldn't be so cagey about fighting them. I'd attack them, depending on whether or not that duke has a alliance with France. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you later.